So the petrol price in Cape Town has just passed 20 Rand. It's now 20 Rand and 88 cents per litre of petrol. But we have electric cars here to save the day, or do we? Because electric cars work when you're tootling around town and you kind of can do frequent charges. But do electric cars work when you actually want to go on a road trip? And that's what we're going to find out today. Right, so we have a sufficient amount of charge in the car. It's not completely full, but it's full enough. So there's a thing called plug share. It allows you to create trips. So you open plug share, and then you go down here to trips, and then you say create a trip. And starting address is current location. We're at the waterfront. Destination is Knysna, eGolf. Vehicle range is actually about 200 kilometers. It's like 220, but let's do 200 to be safe. My starting vehicle range is, I'm going to estimate about 220, 230. It doesn't really matter that much, and I'll show you why now. So we hit find routes. Wait for it, says cool, let's take the N2. It's about 500 kilometers, give or take, to Knysna. We say continue. And it says I could probably make it to Swellendam over there, but I don't want to risk that. So what I'm going to do, my thinking here, is I'm going to drive to every single charger along the way and rather do more frequent short charges than less long charges. Make sense? So the first one we can do is Caledon, add that to the trip. Then we're going to do Swellendam, add that to the trip. Then we're going to do Riversdale, add that to the trip, and then it says I'm going to make it all the way. There is another charger in George where I will stop. But so to begin with, we're going to go straight to Caledon. Okay, so straight up, the GPS says it's going to be an hour's drive and it's about 115 kilometers. And the actual range here actually says 280. So the actual range is going to drop off quite rapidly once we start moving. But 115 kilometers is give or take half of what this car can do. So what I've decided to do, in the interest of fairness, in the interest of like an accurate measurement of like, can you do this with an electric car? Can you actually drive to Knysna? Can you go on a road trip, and like how much extra time does it add? I do the Knysna trip quite often without breaking the law. It's a 5-hour drive. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use cruise control. I'm going to peg this thing at the speed limit everywhere we go. So I will religiously keep to the speed limit. Now I'm doing this for two reasons. One, if you keep going over the speed limit, you do deplete the battery a lot faster. If you go below the speed limit, like it's not really accurate, because like nobody's going to drive to Knysna at 60 kilometers an hour the entire way. That's pretty stupid. So like right now I'm on the N2 outbound in town. It's an 80 zone and I'm doing 80 kilometers an hour using the cruise control. It does have adaptive cruise control, which is quite nice. So for all intents and purposes, it should be quite a relaxing drive. I'm measuring Knysna as well in terms of like the charging station in Knysna, the very last charging station I get to, and I'm not going to factor in the last charge. So literally it's just from leaving Cape Town to arriving at Knysna. Now let's see if we can locate the charger. There it is. Okay, so I'll just hope this thing's online. Also, this is a fast charger apparently. See how long it takes to get this puppy charged here. Also, there's a diner and all kinds of stuff going on here. Okay, let's see if we can pull it right up here. Yeah, so it is now exactly 12 o'clock. It took me an hour and a half to get here. Quick update on the whole driving vibe. From town to Somerset West, uphill 120, charge battery. Solari's Pass, charge battery. Down the other side to Grabo, charges battery. Up the hill, charge battery. Down the hill, charges battery. It's on, off, on, off, on, off. Pretty rough, actually, I won't lie. So we used more than half the battery to get here, which is only 115 kilometers. A bit more usage than I hoped. There's a Jag charger behind me. I'm going to try and figure it out. This is a fast charger, so it's got the plug thing on it. And let's see if we can make it work. So the type 2 chargers, you have your own cable, which is that one I used at the waterfront, this yellow thingy. But this one has a cable in it. So you'll see here, The charger I had only plugged in there. So this one I think plugs in here as well. So it's like a big thing. So that's what it looks like. Take it out. Yep, that's it. Also you check these cables are lang thick as well. You plug it in there. Right. So that's in. That made a hell of a click noise. You can hear it running.
One hour later.
Okay, so this is the first high-speed charger that I've used. Car's plugged in. There is a AC charger over here which is slower, and that you can plug the cable in that comes with the car that I showed you earlier, that yellow one. Right, so you can plug that in there, use the card, you tap it over here, and then off you go. If you wanted to use the DC charger, you use this screen. There's quite a lot of information on here actually. I don't know whether you can actually see it, but like it actually tells you what the current is, how long you've been charging for, time to full is 35 minutes, incoming voltages, all that kind of stuff. So there's a fair amount of detail on that screen. There's obviously a tapping thing. You just tap with the card and then like it starts charging your car. I charged at the waterfront this morning. In comparison, I had 140 kilometers of range left when I plugged in, and to full would take 2 hours and 20 minutes. Got here and I've got 80 kilometers in range left. Plugged in would take 40 minutes to full. So the DC charger is quicker by a factor of 3 or 4. Okay, so that took a lot longer than it should have, because Riversdale is a dumbass. Pay attention to the damn charger. It's just like, it's so obvious and so simple. These things do stand outside, so you can't expect like laptop quality screens. There's like a rubber cover over the screen. The screen's capacitive, so you kind of have to press it to get any kind of response. But basically once you got all the right buttons pressed, it just turns on and starts charging. So that did an hour and 5 minutes in charging, and in that hour and 5 minutes we used 22 kilowatt hours, which is as much power as it put into the car. And now we can proceed to the next charger. Total travel time so far has been 1 hour and 40 minutes, and it is now 2:15. We wasted an hour screwing around with the charger and being an idiot, but assuming you have all of that sorted out, it should be pretty straightforward. Like pull in, plug in. You're going to need about an hour to put in all the sort of power that you used in the drive, and then you're good to go again. So back onto cruise control. It is 100 here, and off we go. Okay, so we've just gotten to Rivier. Driving at speed consumes about 30 to 40% more electricity than driving around town. So whatever range you kind of think you're going to get, you probably want to lob 20 to 30% off that. My original plan of stopping everywhere and charging more frequently turned out to be quite accurate, because I actually won't make the next stop in Riversdale, but from here I won't make it to George either, so I'll have to stop in Riversdale and then in George, and then I'll make it to Knysna. So it's 3:30 and we're going to hit the charge, and then we should be out here on the next, I reckon, probably hour. Okay, so this time we are going to be less of a dumbass. We're going to get that ready. It's also started spitting slightly, so we're about to find out how waterproof this stuff is, which I think is quite waterproof. Probably want to get that first. Don't do this all with one hand. It's like a high voltage cable. It weighs a metric ton. We're going to take that and we're going to shove it in there. Ooh, makes a nice noise. It comes on. Screen, card, go. Starting the charge. System self-test. There we go. 40% battery, so it's going to charge for 60 minutes. 60%, and that's probably going to take the better part of an hour. Okay, so it says 50 minutes. So I suppose I'll go find somewhere to sit for 50 minutes.
1 hour later.
Okay, we've been charging for about an hour now. Change the strategy. So it says, it started off saying 50 minutes. Like obviously it's a rough calculation. And then as it's charging, it's kind of working out the exact figures. So we're now 97% battery, and it says 15 minutes remaining. The next charging station is Riversdale, which is about 100 kilometers. Got enough range to get there. So I'm going to call it at an hour and then hit the road to Riversdale, charge for an hour, George, charge for an hour, and then on to Knysna. See what we've got in terms of range here. We have 200 kilometers in range. So like those extra 15 minutes probably wouldn't have made much difference. So now it's needing a offline authorization code. So we get to do the WhatsApp thing again.
One hour later.
Cool. We've got 96% charged. That should be enough to get us to George, which is our next stop. 174 kilometer range, and George is about 113. So we are, this vibe of just charging for an hour, I can see being a problem. Okay, so we've made it to George, and now I need to try and locate the charger. How's guys? Where's the car charger? Okay, thank you. Oh, so it's not far away at all. Those chaps were quite helpful. Oh, there it is. Flip, now how do I get there? Because they've now stuck this thing on this end of the mall, and there's like nothing to. How the hell am I supposed to get there? It's just like roadworks everywhere. Come on, people. Work with me here. This is like on the far side of the mall. This is like a bit dodgy, actually. We have made it to George. 5 hours of driving. And how many hours in total? Watch, 7 hours and 11 minutes. So far... No, sorry, 8 hours, 11 minutes. So it's 3 hours of charging. Culloden, Volkswagen, and Riversdale. So that's accurate. So we're going to charge for an hour here. We have 33 kilometers left on the range, and then we're on to Knysna. So it says that we have 17% battery left, and it's going to take. That'll pop up in a minute. It's going to be like an hour and a half or something stupid like that. Yep. It's going to take an hour and a half to get to full. So we're just going to let it charge for an hour, and that should get us to Knysna.
1 hour later.
I've checked the range. We're at 120 kilometers in terms of range, and we are only about 55 kilometers from Knysna. Now, the trip between George and Knysna is like slow. You go through Sagefield. It's like 60 and 80 in wilderness and all that. So no point, I think, do I even go near 120. And so I'm going to risk it. Because the point here is, like, you don't want to, if you're going on a holiday to Knysna, then you're taking your electric car. You don't want to sit here for 2.5 hours and get to Knysna with like a full battery. You just want to get to Knysna. So if I have enough just to get to Knysna, peachy. Also, can we just like take a minute to discuss the location of this whole shindig? So there's the car, and there's the charger, and there's this like massive wall of a mall, and I mean we literally are on like the arse end of this freaking mall. There's just like nothing here. There's no one here. There's no security. This is like a dodgy place to come and charge your car this time of the night. Like
1 hour later.
Right, so we have made it to Knysna, and it has taken 9 hours and 50 minutes to get here. So can you drive to Knysna with an electric car? Yes, you can. Do you want to? Probably. It actually wasn't that bad. If you use the time of your stops to have a drink, have a bite to eat, it's fantastic. It's great. The car's been great. It drives as well as any normal car does. The charging networks could probably be a little bit better. I was lucky I didn't get to a charger where there was already a car charging. That would have been a problem. Spent an hour at every charge, or at every station. There's 100 kilometers ish left on the range, so you could probably cut the charges down slightly and still make it quite comfortably. That George stop could have been a little bit shorter. But on the whole, it's not actually a train smash, taking an electric car and driving it a fair distance across the country. Thanks for watching. Be awesome if you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next crazy road trip adventure.